Calling the July 9th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting to order. Myself, Brian McGinnis, the chair, Nicole Shimoni, and Brian Travis, who is joining us from remote. Any announcements, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Seeing none, let's go to reports. The director's report on monthly financials, Ms. Barb Leonti.
Good evening. If we could start on page 2 of the report. Looking at the cash position for the month of June 30th, 2025, we started the month with $27,756,771. We booked receipts of $2,262,070. We spent or transferred between funds $2,189,980, and this leaves us with an ending balance across all funds of $27,828,761. Moving over to page 3, please. The due tos and due froms as of June 30th are sitting at a little bit over $2.9 million. Next month, I will be coming to you asking for a write-off of about $2,275,159. This balance represents the last 4 items on this sheet, which is from 09/130/007 down to 30/130/16. These are balance sheet accounts where the interfund receivables and liabilities, the balances, since they are balance sheets, grow year after year. The only way to extinguish them is either to transfer the money or to write them off. These are funds that we no longer use. We no longer use the recreation fund, and we no longer use the debt fund. And the majority of the activity was from around 2016 to 2019. This is important for 2 reasons. The auditor from Maley will be speaking about this next week when they present the 2024 audited financial statements. And it's also going to be important for when we go out to market for the potential new debt that we're looking to bring onto the books. It could show as a potential financial weakness when we have money that's due to us and money that's outstanding, even though it's interfund activity. So that's my request for next month. I will have the analysis as well as the amount that I'm looking to write off. If we could move over to page 4, please. Looking at the variance report for the year ended June 30th. We are looking in good shape with all funds. On the general fund side, we have prior real estate taxes that's $58,000 better than budget. Business privilege tax is $43,000 better than budget. Interest income is $46,000 better than budget. And we have our street openings revenue, which is $75,000 over budget. There's no major line items that are overspent through June 30th. The one big one that I wanted to point out is zoning. That is $23,000 over budget, and that's for third-party expense within the department. Both enterprise funds, sewer, and parking are doing very well. The one thing I could say that we could do better is meet our interest targets in the parking fund. I'm looking to open up some new CDs when the one that we have currently expires, so that we can, meet the target on that line item. And those are the major highlights I have through June. Are there any questions?
I do not have any questions. Ms. Shimoni or Mr. Travis remote, do you have any questions?
Just noticed that the building permit revenue is running way behind, and I don't know if that's an artifact of seasonality or some sort of cycle, or whether we just budgeted
So
too high the number.
When we did the budget for 2025, we inflated that number, assuming that some of the major projects would come online. And to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen any of those big revenues coming through. So my guess is that we may not meet that line item.
Okay. That was it. That's so caught my eye. So thanks for an explanation for that.
So that Good question, Brian. So then question being, what are we going to do to make up the revenue, or at least, make sure that we're in good shape?
Well, I mean, we had an inverse relationship on the expenses. We inflated those to meet that, assuming that there would be additional expenses needed because of the inspections. So, we are only through June 30th, and I try to be, optimistic. So I would like to give it a little bit more time because there may be things that I'm not aware of.
Thank you. One quick question, Barb. In our reserve, capital reserve, what is our balance?
We are sitting at a little over $9 million.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any public comment regarding the budget? All right, seeing none, let's move to the pension report.
Okay, thank you. Let me introduce myself, Bruce Biesecker from RBC. Been on board as the investment consultant to the plan, probably for about 2.5 years now. Oh, just them? Okay, all right, okay. So there are two funds here, both the police and the non-uniform. They have the same investments, the same investment policy. So I'll spend a little bit more time on the first report, which is the police pension, then an abbreviated review on the non-uniform, let's call it, because the returns are almost identical with the same investments. So if you look at page 1, the investment policy, you can see 50% equity, 15% international equity, so 65% total equity, 35% fixed income. And if you look on page 1 to the right, you'll see that the actual numbers are extremely close to the policy numbers, which is a good thing. Turning next to page 2. This is a preliminary review through June 30th. It was a kind of a flash audited review here. So I'm sure the numbers won't change by all that much, but I do want to add that. If you look at the year-to-date numbers, the fund is up 6.2%. The policy is up 6.5%, so it's slightly behind. Then for the trailing 1 year, it's slightly ahead at 11.9% versus 11.7%. If you look down below, the lion's share of all of the U.S. equity is passively invested in index funds. The Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, which invests in large, mid, and small companies, right on top of its benchmark. And then for the trailing 1 year, the monies were invested in the Vanguard Small Cap Index Fund in the first week of July of last year. So I'm sure that those numbers are pretty much on top of the benchmark, which is 10.1%. Next in line, at our last meeting, we reviewed the international managers, which are active. One of the managers has what we would call a value tilt in the business. That's Dodge and Cox. The other one, Harding Loevner, more of a kind of a growth tilt, but they go against the benchmark, and you can see for the trailing 1 year, up 19% versus the benchmark of 17.7, which is good. They had a few difficult years prior to that. So we are seeing some good results out of them from an international perspective. Next down below, if you look at fixed income, if you look at the over-under line in terms of how the managers are doing versus the benchmark, the over-under is all positive across the board. So the active fixed income managers have been a very positive influence on the overall portfolio performance. Delaware Diversified Income up 4.1 so far this year, above its benchmark. Likewise for the trailing 1 year. The next page, page 3, Nuveen, right on top of the benchmark year to date and slightly ahead over the trailing 1 year. Then we have an offset to a possible increase in interest rates. We have a fund that's called Lord Abbett Short Duration. You can see, even though their number is less in the year-to-date number, up 3.2 versus 2.9 over the trailing 1 year, they are much better than the other two managers. So it's a good offset and a good income-producing sort of portion of the fixed income portfolio. Next, we have the cash returns, which is very modest. And by the way, cash is earning a little bit in excess of 4% at RBC. So that would conclude my comments on the police fund. Are there any questions I can address? There being none? Okay, then I would like you then to turn to page 5, which is the non-uniform. And you can see pretty much The trailing 1 year, 11.9 versus 11.7, same numbers as the police fund, which dovetails with what I described earlier. Same investment policy, same managers. We keep the investments very, very close to each other. So that would conclude my remarks, and I'll ask if there are any questions I can address here for the non-uniform.
No, thank you. I just want to thank you for being receptive to the changes we made over the years. We saved the borough a lot of money that benefits taxpayers, the employees, as well as the retirees. So I just want to thank you for that. Keep doing a good job.
Thank you very much. We
Any
good?
other comment? Any public comment? Good. The pension
Thank
is
you.
good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. Old business approved the June 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any objections from the dais? Brian, any objections?
No, no, nope.
All right,
No
thank you. Let's discuss the Christmas parade, the ongoing saga here, and support and fees of the parade. Let's go ahead, Ms. Walker from the chamber.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I'm just here to continue to help support the brainstorming and conversation. I know that there was some discussion last night, around the continued conversation around defining an event, and also some conversation with the parking committee as well. So, I'm just here to continue to advocate for the chamber and to advocate for this potential continued partnership that we've had in the past, and be here to help with the conversation.
All right. Well, a lot was said last night. I was watching while it kind of unfolded. I think it goes back to, we want to support the parade. We're just still kind of in this rut of trying to figure out, if we support the parade, are we going to support what other events are we going to support? And there was a list, I think, that was made of criteria of, like, that was based off of the North Carolina support criteria. Did that list get summarized anywhere? I think there were a couple of things I might have wanted to add to the list. Like, I think we were having trouble trying to quantify the impact of an event. And I thought, well, if we have the number of people, or have rough estimates of the number of people, we can really see, 20,000 people, I think you said, for the parade, and then the next level is maybe 5,000 from some of our other events, right? Somewhere around there. So if we want to put the number of attendees as on that list as a cutoff point, that could help support our conversation about, like, what's the most impactful to our borough from and not necessarily having all the dollars if you can't quantify all the dollars from all the businesses or what have you.
Right.
So that was one addition I want to make, or I would like to add to that list. Otherwise, I'm fully in support. I have my little chart that I made from last month that when it comes time to talk about it, I think the first thing is we got to figure out what our list is. And then the second thing is we got to figure out how much we want to charge for parking for whatever. And then we got to figure out then, of that list, how we're going to support it. Is that my understanding at this point? That's kind of where we are.
I believe it is. And I just want to take a much simpler approach. And I was talking to the mayors, talking to Ms. Walker and other people. The Christmas parade is a very unique event to the borough. It's probably the most unique event, and it should be treated as such. And I do think that we should look at that separately from other events within the borough. A lot of these other events are more neighborhood events, Marshall Square Park or Everhart Park or Porch Fest and whatnot, or runs. Whereas you look at, this is a total borough-wide event. And I think we should work in cooperation with the chamber to look at offsetting some of these costs. And I think we can make an exception just for this event alone. And looking at the criteria as to why, as far as, the amount of people that are going to be visiting, whether it be 20 to 30,000 and whatnot. No other event is going to attract that many people. Maybe the Chili Fest, but the Chili Fest offsets their cost through their bracelets and whatnot to get into the event.
I'm not opposed to that. I think where we got we were almost there actually last month. I think where we got turned around was when we started talking about parking.
Right.
I think if you look at I'm looking at the chart, maybe I should have sent it to you guys again to put up on the screen. If you look at the chart of like what we all said we would be in line with, everybody was in line with increasing parking for the Christmas parade, the $20, and then keeping it all, and not having that be part of the support.
And increasing the parking spaces too, as far
Yes.
as flat lots.
Yes, pretty much everyone was, Patrick wasn't here last month, but everyone was in support of expanding to the surface lots. Everyone was in support of discussing the idea of expanding that $20 to other events. Then from a funding, everybody was in support of funding with some kind of MOU to be reviewed every 3 to 5 years. And everybody was in support of a cap of somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000. How we did it, whether we focused right on the police dollars or if we focused on 50% of labor, I think everybody supported that, but some they ranked differently, but everybody had that support. I think where, again, yes, to your point, Brian, where we all got caught up and tripped up was with the parking, and then with, should we do this for other events?
Right.
And Ramsey's ready to say something.
I mean, we talked about parking last night and I actually wrote a policy today that'll be on the work session. So I feel like we had parking hashed out for pretty much all special events in the town center district. And so I think that we have a plan for that. So my understanding, and I'm sorry if I'm overstepping, but my understanding was that the decision was that parking revenue is no longer a discussion for subsidizing events. So that was one thing that was decided last night, the recommendation of parking committee. But I think my understanding was that the Christmas parade is so different and has such a different, it's just different, so that it's kind of the unicorn of events. So even though we might be considering other ways to subsidize other events, I thought we were going to do an MOU for support of some determined amount for.
We ended up punting last month. As much as we were close to it, we didn't quite get there because we started bringing up the other events.
Yeah.
Now, so if this month, the idea is to take this list and take this understanding, align on whether we do police or all labor, and then just go forth with the Christmas parade, and then talk again next month about any other events that anybody might be interested in. I mean, I'm okay with that. I
Yeah.
just don't know.
Exactly. I think let's just stick to the Christmas parade, nothing else. Let's get it done. Let's get it over with. We're talking about it too long. You got to plan for it. We have to plan for it with the police. I'm fine with the MOU that we evaluate every couple of years when these contracts are up, the police contracts are up. That way you have a number every year you're looking at and what you expect from the borough. Whether that number be 8,000 to 10,000, I mean, that's something for all of us to decide. Parking, we'll take a look at that. That'll be separate, done through parking, as Ramsey mentioned, to look at. But I think we're a lot closer, and I think we should just focus on the Christmas parade first, and then we go from there.
Would it be helpful if I provided to the finance committee or to full council a list of some of the things that you were saying, Nicole, in terms of the number of people that attend, the footprint of the town that it shuts down, the number of years that the event has been happening here in Westchester? I mean, we're past 50 years of a tradition of this event in the borough. I don't know if that would be helpful for me to put together sort of our knowledge of the impact of the event, so that you.
I think it might be helpful for the other conversation. I don't think
Okay.
anyone denies the
Right.
impact that the Christmas parade has, the substantial impact that the Christmas parade has on the borough. So if you want to be helpful, in all this, it's,
Sure.
I don't think it'll make your case any stronger. I think you have
Yeah.
a very strong case already.
Yeah, and
But-
I'm not saying for the case,
With the
just more
list.
helpful to pull it all together. And-
I would take that.
I'm
info.
fine
Yeah.
with that.
Okay.
Mr. Travis, any comments?
No, I'm good. The list that we talked about last night, just to remind everybody, is what is if we could have some sort of estimate on the economic impact, the number of, the amount of traffic that we're driving into businesses that are part of the bid, that are members of the chamber, the closure of streets. These are the sort of the qualifications that we would maybe consider a sponsorship for. I know, Katie, in the past you mentioned the advertising equivalent value of all of the press that basically we get, and that there's a value in that, and that does bring goodwill. I don't know that there's any other events that would have the same impact. So I'm kind of in agreement that we've done our diligence. We've kind of gone through a list of things and criteria to see if anything else would qualify that's not already a Parks and Rec event that already has budget. So I think that we just have to make a decision here, whether it's 8 or 10 or 50%. And I just want to support the effort here. So whatever we decide and land on, I think we have the right options on the table. It's just at this point we got to pick one.
So do we three want to agree on something that we want to take to the work session?
Yes.
Proposal. Why don't we do that while we're here? Okay, that's good. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through my chart and then we can just kind of align on which aspect of it we want to propose. Is that cool? And then Sean, you can grab it and then, okay, cool. All right. All right. I guess parking's out of it, but I have the increased parking to $20 for the parade. I'm just going to go through it, whether it pertains here or not. Okay. Increased parking to $20. I think we're all aligned that we want to do that. To 20.
Yes.
Okay. We want to expand parking charges to the lots.
Correct.
Okay. So we agreed on that. We want to keep all parking dollars.
Correct.
No sharing. Dollars parking. Okay. All right. Now here's the one that's a little bit of a question. Do we want to focus on police dollars or do we want to give 50% off of all labor? And I think the idea was, I think the mayor had brought up, do we just say whatever the police costs are up to the cap? That's the support that we have, or we spin it that it's whatever total labor is, then it's 50% of that up to the cap.
I mean, I'm at like 6 in one, half a dozen the other. It doesn't matter to me, honestly.
Well, maybe let's not anger the mayor. Maybe we just make the mayor happy.
I mean, if we want to, I mean, I think a subsidy of 10,000 and no more, and then we reevaluate that when the contracts are up. And the mayor, I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, talking about that, I just think it simplifies things if you limit it to the police, because certainly that is a justifiable reason, because the Christmas parade brings more than double of any other event that we have, into the town. Other events might cap at 2,000-3,000, but this brings 15,000 to 20,000, if not more. So the police is a justifiable, the need for security. We'd be there one way or the other anyway. I don't think you should muddy the waters. You muddy the waters when you start talking about, okay, is it half of labor? Well, what labor? Is it public works? Is it, safety? Is it what labor? Because there's a lot of labor. So I think you should really just keep it to the police, because you can always talk about that easily and publicly when people ask. And because it's a valid expense, that they're going to have to be there one way or the other, as long as there is a Christmas parade.
Would you be fine then with 10,000?
Yeah, I think that's a
That's a
reasonable,
good number.
because,
And then we reevaluate that when the
right,
next police contract is
Right,
up. That
right.
way, Ms. Walker knows,
we
we
should
all
look
know.
at it every 2 to 3 years.
Perfect.
Because that's about what we end up giving you anyway, about 10,000.
All right.
So I
Yeah,
think,
just let me make sure I understand and that they understand. Is it that the money will come from the police budget up to a cap of 10,000, or you?
Up to a cap of 10,000.
right,
All right, cool.
Right.
All right. You got that, Dana?
And that will be reevaluated every year the police contract has been ratified.
Right, you can do it that way. Right. Yeah, but like you say, it is a unicorn. It's a delightful unicorn. We had the opportunity of co-signing to and being a part of. And when you talk about impact, you know, you're not only talking about the business people, but Brian Travis said it's one of the reasons why he lives in Westchester was because of the Christmas parade. You know, that's what he said the first night. But a lot of people enjoy the Christmas parade like that. And what I love about the Christmas parade, it's totally free. I mean, you can bring your children up. If you have 2 children, if you have 10 children, you can bundle them up, bring them up, sit on the sidewalk, have a thermos of hot chocolate, and enjoy the Christmas parade. So it crosses cultural, racial, religious divides for the whole borough and the greater Westchester area. Not only that, it crosses township lines because, you know, West Goshen, East Bradford, you know, East Goshen, they're all there supportive of it. So I think nothing brings this community together like the Christmas parade. And we have to, so it has so many impacts on so many different levels: community impact, financial impact, business impact. It impacts in a positive way during a season and during a time that we need it more than ever.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Metrick.
Last one, though, the MOU one. Oh, did you have a question?
Want to comment on that? I think it would be wise to do it on a biannual interval, because if you index it to when the contract gets resolved, I can't guarantee a contract will get resolved. Do you know what I mean? Once you start negotiating, things could happen. It could go longer than you expect. Things are up in the air. You're having executive.
Well,
sessions. You know what I mean? It's not well defined.
I mean, I would say the year after the contract has been ratified. That way, you have that time frame anyway, right? Yeah, no, totally get it. Totally get it.
There could be a point where we're kind of holding because it takes longer to ratify the contract. And so we're holding it whatever we.
It could, but that's why I said the year after the contract
Yeah.
has been ratified. That way we know.
I'm not opposed to that, so.
Mr. Travis, any comments?
No, I think we're landing in the right place.
Perfect. Thank you. Ms. Walker.
Nicole, I just wanted to make sure to add one more thing to your notes on the parking and Ramsey. Where'd Ramsey go? She's still here. It was also the timing, I think, that was decided on last night too, because in the past, the $20 fee for the parade didn't start until 4 o'clock.
Did we decide that, or were we going to go back to talk to the churches?
For Sundays, I think we came up with a plan. But
We can let the parking people,
yeah, that was only for Sunday events.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to double check that
Okay,
you
I
didn't
see,
need to
I see.
include that.
okay.
Yeah.
So we said parking last night, what was it, like all day, right? Starting at 8 or something?
Mhm.
Are you good with that?
I'm fine with that.
Brian?
Perfect.
Other Brian? You there?
Sorry, I was muted. I don't remember what was discussed last night, but I would defer this part to the parking committee.
Yeah, we can put it in as a comprehensive proposal, and if anyone from the parking committee wants to strip it out or something, and do something different.
I'm
like-
fine with that.
Yeah, let's just have something comprehensive so we can all hopefully hold hands and you can go forth and spend our money.
All right. Any other public comment regarding the Christmas parade? Perfect. So it seems like we have a formula in place, Miss.
I feel like I should clap,
There you go.
right?
Have a drink.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Next week still.
Yeah, I know. We still got a little ways to go.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, great. Let's move to item 6, new business. I'm going to read these off, and if there's any discussion, let me know. J&J Outdoor Services LLC, $14,369.50. That's power washing for the Bicentennial Garage. Johnson Controls, $16,250. That's Bicentennial Conduit Replacement. Next Gen, $30,284. Emergency Management Systems Contract. USALCO, $12,835.20. Phosphorus removal. Whitmer Public Safety, $15,395.60. That's body armor. And finally, Great Lakes Recreation, $65,386. That's installation for playground equipment at Horace Pippin Park. Is there any comments regarding those items A through F? All right, any objections?
Nope.
Perfect, seeing none, we could move that to the consent agenda 3-0. Item 7, other business. Is there any other business? Other business, seeing none, we will adjourn at 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time.